The war for AI video supremacy is officially here. On one side, you have billion-dollar giants like Google and Bytedance promising to change filmmaking forever. On the other, a brand new open-source contender from Alibaba, fighting to prove that the best tools can be free for everyone. So let's be honest, we've all seen the flashy AI video demos that look absolutely perfect. But when you get your hands on these tools, is the magic really there? Can they actually handle the complex, weird, and specific ideas that we want to create? That's the question I'm answering today. I've got access to the 4 most important text-to-video models on the planet right now: Kuaishou's KLING2.1, Bytedance's Seedance Pro, Google Veo3, and Alibaba's new open-source model, Wan2.2. We're going way beyond the basics. I've designed 21 insane prompts to test everything: action scenes, delicate physics, human emotion, and even whether these things can actually write text. We're going to see jaw-dropping successes and absolutely hilarious failures. Some of the results are going to shock you, and the model that came out on top is probably not the one you're expecting. If you want to know the real state of AI video today and where you should be investing your time and attention, you're in the right place. Let's do this. All right, kicking things off with our very first prompt, a breakdancer performing a fast spinning flare move on a cardboard mat. First up, let's see what Kling cooked up. Okay, so the movement is a little on the slow side, not quite the high-speed flare we asked for, but it's not a total disaster. The character's body and limbs hold together pretty well for most of it, which is a good start. But keep an eye on his arm right at the end of the spin. See that? It gets a bit wobbly and seems to transform in a really unnatural way. A classic case of AI struggling with complex rapid motion. Now, let's check out Seedance Pro's attempt. Whoa, okay, it definitely understood the fast spinning part, but this is where things start to fall apart. The faster the movement, the harder it is for the AI to maintain physical consistency, and you can really see that here. The limbs get incredibly janky. Hands, feet, legs, they all glitch out during the spin. It's a bit of a mess, honestly. Definitely a step down from Kling in terms of coherence. Flipping over to Google's Veo3, it comes with audio, which is a nice touch, but the dance itself is bizarre. It's fast for sure, but the movement is completely unnatural, almost like an alien trying to imitate a breakdancer. It's a super weird, contorted spin that you'd never see in a real dance battle. So yeah, Veo3 couldn't really stick the landing on this one either. And finally, let's see the open source contender, Wan2.2. And, well, it seems to have misinterpreted breakdancing as taking a break. He's just sitting there, cross-legged, with some slight twitches. It completely missed the point of the prompt. It's also worth noting that Wan2.2 is currently limited to just 5-second clips, though I'm sure the community will be pushing that limit very soon. So for round 1, the win has to go to Kling. It wasn't perfect, but it was by far the most coherent attempt. All right, on to our next challenge. A ballerina performing a flawless continuous pirouette in the center of a grand stage. Let's start with Kling. We get a ballerina on a stage, but she's not really performing the pirouette we asked for. She's just doing some simple, light movements and kind of walking across the stage. She's graceful, but she completely ignored the main action in the prompts. Flipping over to Seedance, and okay, this is a definite improvement over Kling. The dance performance itself feels a bit more dynamic. There aren't any major limb issues, which is great, but she's still not doing that continuous spin we requested. Maybe the AI is avoiding the spin because it knows it might cause artifacting, but either way, it's not quite what we wanted. Still a better dance than Kling's. Now for Veo3. I think this one takes the lead so far. The movement feels much more authentic, much more like a real ballerina. The grace is there. Now, she's still not doing the continuous pirouette, but the overall quality of the motion is a clear step up. And just so you know, for all these tools, I'm showing you the very first video that was generated. No re-rolls, no cherry picking. This is their raw, first try performance. And to round it out, here's Wan2.2. And hey, it's actually spinning. We have a pirouette. But the AI has given us this super tight close-up, which isn't ideal. And if you look closely, her head stays weirdly still while her body rotates, and there's some jankiness in her leg. It's a good attempt at core action, but the execution is a bit off. For this round, I'm giving the crown to Veo3. The added audio and the natural polished movement, even without the perfect spin, just felt superior. Alright, time to take things to new heights with this next prompt. A parkour athlete performing a running jump between skyscraper rooftops. This is a huge test of physics and dynamic action. Let's check out Kling's attempt first, and it's a bit strange. Instead of jumping between two buildings, he seems to be jumping up onto a higher building, almost like he's defying gravity. And watch that last part. He runs up a completely vertical wall to make the final jump. The movement just doesn't feel natural at all. Now for Seedance, okay, this is even more bizarre. It's like gravity just switches off mid-jump. He leaps and then just floats. He hangs in the air for way too long before slowly drifting down. It completely misses the sense of speed and danger. Another fail on the physics front. Let's see if Veo3 can save this, and wow, okay, this is much, much better. The initial jump and the fall feel weighty and realistic, but then it gets a little weird again. He kind of bounces off the ground in a way that feels a little too floaty. Still, compared to the first two, Veo's generation is easily the most impressive and dynamic. And finally, Wan2.2's 5-second clip. The slow-motion jump itself looks pretty cool, but we never see the second skyscraper. He just leaps from one building and seems to be landing down to the same one. It follows the core action but misses the between two buildings part of the prompt. For this round, the win absolutely goes to Veo3. The added audio and the much more believable sense of motion put it way ahead of the others. Okay, let's hit the slopes for our third prompt. A professional snowboarder launching off a ramp and performing a corkscrew spin against a clear blue sky. First, Kling's generation. At first glance, this slow-mo shot looks pretty cool. It captures the spin in the air, but watch the start carefully. Right as he launches, his limbs just go haywire for a second. It's a classic AI transformation glitch where the body just morphs unnaturally. It's a shame because the rest of the shot's decent. Next up, Seedance. This one is just plain weird. He jumps, but the strangest part is the landing. There's no snow on the shade where he lands, but as soon as his board touches down, snow kicks up everywhere. It makes no sense. Plus, he doesn't really do the corkscrew spin we requested, and there's a slight limb issue right at the beginning. Not a great showing. Now let's check out Veo3. And here too, you'll notice a clear issue with the spin. It seems like only his legs are rotating while his upper body stays weirdly rigid and faces forward. It's the same kind of problem we saw with Seedance. On the plus side, the physics of the jump and the feeling of gravity on the landing look pretty good, but that unnatural spin is a major flaw. And finally, Wan2.2. Well, it just gives us the middle of the action. The video starts with the snowboarder already in the air, and it ends before he lands. We don't see the takeoff or the landing, so it feels like an incomplete fragment, not a full clip. Honestly, this one's tough. They all kind of drop the ball. You could call it a tie, but if I was forced to lean one way, I'd say Veo3 is slightly better because the overall physics felt a bit more grounded. But let's just call this one a wash. Alright, let's switch gears completely for this next one. A tense close-quarter fight scene between a vampire and a werewolf inside a Gothic cathedral. Kling's version starts off looking like a fight, but then the werewolf suddenly gets distracted by a pillar and just stares at it. Meanwhile, the vampire uses this opportunity to just casually walk away. Not exactly the intense fight we were hoping for. The scene just fizzles out. Let's see if Seedance can deliver more action. Okay, this is comparatively better than Kling. The fight feels a little more connected than Kling's, even if the movements aren't perfectly natural. There's a bit of a glitchy jump in there, but at least they stay focused on each other. It's a step in the right direction. Let me know in the comments what you think of this one. And then there's Veo3. Okay, now we're talking. That punch at the start has some real weight to it, and the kick he throws at the end looks pretty good too. Compared to the other two, this is easily the best interpretation of a fight scene so far. It actually feels like there's some impact and intent behind the movements. Let's see what Wan2.2 came up with. This result is, well, it's more like a weird slow-motion ballet. The vampire is just kind of floating in the air for the entire clip while the werewolf shuffles around on the ground below. They never even make contact. It's not a fight scene at all. No contest here. The win absolutely goes to Veo3. It was the only one that actually delivered on the action. And for our next prompt, we've got a really weird one. An intense, gritty training montage of a human with a Siamese cat face hitting a heavy bag in a dimly lit gym. So here's Kling's take. It gives us this hyper-realistic scene, but the face is only vaguely cat-like. It's more human with slight cat features. And look at the punches. He's not really hitting the bag, more like gently tapping it. There's no force, no impact. The movement just doesn't look natural at all. Now let's see how Seedance handled this bizarre request. Okay, it did a much better job with the Siamese cat face. That's way more convincing. The punches are still on the slow side, but they feel more intentional. You can actually see the bag react when the fist connects, which is a big improvement in realism over Kling. Over to Veo3 with sound again. Now this guy is throwing punches. He's hitting with force, and even though the heavy bag doesn't move as much as you'd expect, the motion looks powerful and natural. The cat face is spot on, the muscular body looks great. This is a really solid generation that nailed all the weird parts of the prompt. And finally, Wan2.2. The punching motion itself is actually pretty good here, but the physics of the bag are totally off. It looks like he's hitting a giant balloon, not a heavy bag. The sense of weight and gravity just isn't there, which breaks the immersion. So for this round, the points once again go to Veo3. It just handled the combination of the bizarre concept, the realistic body, and the powerful action better than anyone else. Okay, let's get weird again with our next prompt. A comedic wide-angle shot of two boxers, one with a fluffy cat face and one with a droopy basset hound face, casually circling each other in a ring. This is another one that's just begging for some AI absurdity. First up, Kling. They did a great job on the actual faces. The cat and dog features are clear, though they have this weirdly soft, almost plush-like texture, like they're living stuffed animals. But they totally missed the circling instruction. They're just standing in one spot, limply waving their arms. Not exactly the dynamic scene we asked for. Now let's check out Seedance. This is a bit better. There's actual movement here. They're not circling, but they are squaring up and throwing some light punches. It definitely has more energy than Kling's version. It's also interesting to see the super realistic crowd in the background contrasting with the bizarre fighters up front. A definite improvement. Time for Veo3. Okay, now we're seeing some action. The cat-faced fighter is lean and muscular, while the basset hound-faced one is hilariously doughy and rotund. The cat actually lands a few punches, and the movement feels like it has some real weight to it. The crowd behind them is just sitting there not cheering, which honestly just adds to the strange, comedic vibe. This is easily the best one so far. And finally, Wan2.2. Again, they're not circling, just throwing some light punches. But you have to look at the crowd. It's all cats. The AI just decided to fill the entire arena with a feline audience. It's a hilarious hallucination. Overall, the result is decent, certainly better than Kling's static image, but for actually creating a dynamic, funny scene that follows the prompt, Veo3 takes the win again. All right, moving on to something a little more magical, a pixel art 3D animated scene of a small fluffy creature discovering a giant glowing mushroom in a forest. Let's see Kling's interpretation. We get this cute 3D pixel art creature wandering into the scene. It finds the mushroom, gives it a little poke, and there's a burst of sparks. It sort of followed the prompt, but it didn't really glow, and the rest of the scene is completely static, which makes it feel a bit lifeless. It's an okay attempt, but not amazing. Next up, Seedance. The scene is immediately more alive here. The mushroom itself has some subtle animation, and the little creature comes in, looks at it, touches it, and seems genuinely happy and curious. But it completely forgot the most important part, the glowing mushroom. So while the animation is better than Kling's, it missed a key detail. Now for Veo3 with its signature sound design. This is where it really shines. The camera cart is fantastic. It starts by tracking our little hero, then pulls back for this epic reveal of the absolutely massive, beautifully glowing mushroom. It perfectly captures that sense of wonder and discovery. The glowing effect is spot on, the camera movement is a joy to watch. This is a flawless execution. And let's see what the open source contender can do, Wan2.2. Wow, it really brought its A game here. We get this beautiful camera pan through the forest with these glowing particle effects, almost like fireflies. Our fluffy character walks in and has a believable moment of surprise when it sees the giant mushroom. This is seriously impressive for an open source model and gives Veo a real run for the money. If Veo's result is a 10 out of 10, this is a solid 9. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let's switch up the art style completely with this next one, an epic sweeping anime-style establishing shot of a flying castle moving through volumetric clouds. First, Kling's generation. We get this floating castle in the mountains, but the art style feels more realistic than anime. The castle itself is also static, it's only the camera that's moving, not the castle. It's a pretty scene, but it missed the anime look. Now let's check out Seedance. This is much closer to what we asked for. The clouds and the castle have that distinct, stylized look of 3D anime. The castle is actually moving through the clouds, giving the shot a great sense of scale and motion. This is a very impressive result and much better than Kling's. Over to Veo3 with its signature music. This is a beautiful shot, but again, it leans more towards a fantasy realism style rather than a pure anime aesthetic. It feels like a live-action blockbuster. That flag waving on top is a nice touch, adding some life to the scene, but Seedance's version felt more true to the anime prompt. And finally, Wan2.2. This is also a great attempt at the anime style, maybe even closer than Veo. It shows two floating structures, but they're completely still while the camera moves past them. It captures the look, but lacks the motion of the castle itself. So for this one, I'm giving the win to Seedance. It did the best job of balancing the specific art style with the requested movement. Okay, this next one is a true test of an AI's ability to understand concepts. A sketch of a bird on a piece of paper that comes to life, flaps its wings, and flies away. Let's start with Kling. And it completely misunderstood the assignment. It didn't animate the sketch itself. Instead, it generated a fully realistic bird that is sitting on top of a piece of paper that has a sketch on it. The real bird then flies away. It completely missed the magical coming to life aspect. That's a fail. Flipping over to Seedance, now this is much closer to what we wanted. It starts with the actual sketch of the bird moving on the paper, flapping its illustrated wings. Then it does this really cool transformation where it peels itself off the page, becoming a realistic bird as it takes flight. A fantastic interpretation and way better than Kling's. And then there's Veo3. Honestly, this is just perfect. We see the static sketch on the paper, then you see the lines subtly begin to move, it gains dimension, and it magically lifts right off the page fully formed and flies away. This is exactly what the prompt asked for, hitting the concept 100% on the money, just an incredible generation. Let's see if Wan2.2 can stick the landing. Unfortunately, it makes the same mistake as Kling. It generates what looks more like a black and white bird on paper, not a sketch, and then that bird just flies off. It missed the core concept of animating the drawing itself. So for this round, Veo3 is the undisputed champion, with Seedance taking a very respectable second place. For our next prompt, I wanted to specifically test camera control, a tracking shot following a firefly as it zips through a serene moonlit forest. First, Kling's version. Okay, so Kling apparently thinks a firefly is literally a fly that is on fire, which is a hilarious and slightly alarming interpretation. But putting that aside, the camera tracking is excellent. It smoothly follows the firefly as it zips and weaves through the forest. So despite the fiery misunderstanding, the technical execution of the camera work is really solid. Now, Seedance. It completely whiffed on the main point of this prompt. There is zero camera movement. The camera is locked in place while this glowing orb just buzzes around it. And what is going on with that moon? It's comically huge and unrealistic. This one is a definite fail on the technical requirement. Let's see Veo3. As you'd expect, it nails it. The camera smoothly and beautifully tracks the Firefly, weaving between the trees and creating a really serene and magical shot. The sense of motion is fantastic, and it perfectly captures the feeling of the prompt. And last but not least, Wan2.2. For a 5-second clip, this is incredibly impressive. The camera tracking is smooth, the atmosphere is great, and it feels very dynamic. Just a quick note, I'm using the online platform to generate the Wan clips, which is why they're capped at 5 seconds for now, but even with that limitation, this is great work. For this round, Veo3 is the winner once again, but both Kling and Wan put up a really strong fight, proving their camera tracking capabilities are definitely legit. Okay, this next prompt is a true test of understanding a magical concept. A blank canvas on an easel, where a vibrant landscape painting magically appears, brushstroke by brushstroke. Let's see Kling's version first. The brush touches the canvas, and the entire painting just instantly spreads across it like a liquid. There's no brushstroke by brushstroke effect, it just appears all at once. So Kling completely failed to follow the core instruction here. Now for Seedance, this one is really impressive visually, but it also totally ignores the prompt. Instead of brushstrokes, a whole landscape of 3D trees and plants just flies in from off-screen and plants itself on the canvas. It's a very cool effect, but it's not what we asked for at all. Time for Veo3 to shine. And look at that. This is it. You can actually see the painting coming to life section by section in a way that simulates fast-forwarded brushstrokes. It's not perfectly one stroke at a time, but it perfectly captures that feeling of a painting being created over time. An amazing and impressive generation. And last, let's check the open source Wan2.2. Here, there's no brush involved at all. A glowing line just sweeps down the canvas from top to bottom, revealing the finished painting behind it. It's another cool magical effect, but it's not the brushstroke generation we wanted. No contest here, Veo3 is the clear winner for this round. All right, let's plunge into our next prompt. Heavy rainfall in a neon-lit city street at night with reflections shimmering on the wet pavement. This is a classic test for atmosphere and lighting. First up, Kling. This is a pretty strong start. We get a nice moving camera shot, there are neon-lit buildings, and you can clearly see the reflections on the waterlogged street below. Overall, a really solid generation from Kling that captures the vibe well. Next, we check Seedance. It gives us a high-angle shot, so a different perspective, which is interesting. The rain effect is heavy and the neon reflections on the road look great. The only downside is that the shot is completely static. There's no camera movement at all, which makes it feel a little less dynamic than Kling's shot, but the image quality itself is definitely there. And here comes Veo3. This is just on another level. It's a low-angle shot, and the sense of motion is completely natural. You see cars actually driving through the scene, and when they pass, you can see the water splashing up from their tires. The neon reflections, the heavy rain, the dynamic action. This is a 100% perfect cinematic generation. Absolutely amazing. And last, let's check the open source Wan2.2. Here, the rain feels a little lighter, but the reflections in the puddles are perfect. And look, it added 2 people with umbrellas walking through the scene, and their movement is incredibly natural. Honestly, this might be my second favorite. Veo3 is the clear number 1, but Wan2.2's result feels more complete and lifelike than both of Kling's and Seedance's. It's really impressive how it consistently holds its own. Okay, let's head into the kitchen for this next one. An extreme close-up macro shot of a very sharp chef's knife slicing a ripe tomato in one clean, smooth motion. This is a huge test of physics and fine detail. Kling's attempt is underwhelming. The knife just hovers over the tomato for about 80% of the video before suddenly making a single quick cut. We don't really see the texture of the tomato or the clean separation of the slice. It's not a very satisfying shot. Now for Seedance, this one is just bizarre. The knife cuts the tomato, but the tomato basically heals itself instantly where the cut was.
The physics are completely broken. It just doesn't understand how slicing an object works. Kling's version might have been slow, but at least it was better than this. Seedance really fumbled this one. Let's see if Veo3 can handle it. This is much better. We get a slow, deliberate slice, and you see the piece fall away. It's a good generation, and the sound design adds a lot, but it still doesn't feel absolutely perfect. It's good, but not mind-blowing. And now for Wan2.2's 5-second clip, and wow. It cuts not one, but two perfect slices. The motion is clean, the physics look right. I think this is actually better than Veo's result. In a stunning upset, the open source model is my winner for this round. It just nailed the action better than anyone else. Okay, let's stick with the food theme. A top-down view of hands skillfully kneading dough on a well-floured wooden surface. Another tough physics challenge. Kling's attempt is decent. The hands are moving, the dough is being kneaded. It gets the general idea across, but it doesn't feel perfectly real. Just an okay generation. Seedance, on the other hand, really struggles here. The movement is so unnatural. The dough seems to be alive, moving on its own, independent of the hands. It's a very strange and unconvincing clip. That's another fail for Seedance on physics. Veo3 brings us back to reality. This is a much, much better generation. The interaction looks pretty good, although if you watch closely, there are still moments where the dough seems to move a little unnaturally on its own. It's better than the first two, but still not flawless. And then there's Wan2.2. Wow. Just wow. In 5 seconds, this is absolutely perfect. The way the dough realistically compresses and moves in response to the pressure from the hands is completely natural. This isn't just a win, this is a knockout. It blows Veo3 and everyone else out of the water on this prompt. Point goes to the open source hero. Next, let's test something more subtle, human emotion. The prompt is a candid shot of a woman laughing genuinely, her eyes crinkling at the corners with soft, natural light. Kling's result is quite good. It's a 10-second clip, and the laugh feels pretty genuine. You can even see dimples form. A really solid generation that captures the warmth of the prompt. Now for Seedance. This one feels a little flat. She's smiling, maybe laughing lightly, but it lacks that genuine, heartfelt emotion we asked for. It doesn't have the same energy as Kling's version, which was definitely better. And here's Veo3. This is also very good, right on par with Kling. The laugh feels natural, the expression is convincing, and the audio helps sell it. I'd say this is about level with Kling's excellent result. And finally, Wan2.2. Again, this is a strong contender. It's a nice, subtle laugh, maybe not a huge belly laugh, but it feels authentic. I'd say for this one, aside from Seedance's slightly weaker attempt, it's a three-way tie between Kling, Veo, and Wan. They all did a great job of capturing a natural human expression. Okay, we're almost there. Next up, an intimate close-up shot of a woman looking out of a window on a rainy day, with reflections visible on the glass. This is all about subtlety and layering. Kling's attempt is okay. We see the woman through the window with some water droplets on the glass, but the reflections are missing. That was a key part of the prompt, so it didn't quite stick the landing. Seedance gives us a much better result. We're inside looking out now, but you can clearly see the woman's reflection on the glass, the raindrops outside, and the way that reflection moves as she interacts with the window. This is a fantastic generation, way better than Kling's attempt. Now for Veo3. This is also excellent, maybe even a little better than Seedance. The reflection of the woman is clear, the rain outside looks very realistic, and the way the water droplets move feels incredibly natural. This is a beautiful, moody shot. It's either tied with Seedance or just slightly ahead. And Wan2.2. This is an interesting take. We don't see the woman's reflection, but we do see the reflections of other things in the room, like lights. We see the rain and the buildings outside. It's a high-quality, realistic shot, even if it missed one specific detail. I'm calling this a tie between Seedance, Veo, and Wan. They all created a believable, reflective scene, while Kling fell a little short. All right, time for the ultimate physics stress test. A single glass of red wine falls from a table and shatters on a white floor shot in ultra-slow motion. Let's see what Kling does. The glass falls, but the physics are all wrong. The wine doesn't spill out naturally as it tumbles. It shatters on impact, but then magically reforms as it bounces back up. It tried, but the logic is completely broken. Seedance's attempt is even worse. The glass is on the floor, and it shrinks. Then it touches the ground, and the wine splashes out, but the glass itself never breaks. This is a total failure to understand the prompt. Let's check Veo3. Okay, this is the best one so far, but it's still not far from perfect. The wine starts to spill out as the glass falls, which is good. You hear a shattering sound, but the glass itself doesn't actually break. It kind of glitches for a second, and then it's fine again. Better than the others, but still not right. And Wan2.2, the video starts with the glass already falling. It hits the floor, a tiny bit of wine splashes, but the glass doesn't break and most of the wine stays inside. It's a clean shot, but it completely misses the shatter part of the prompt. It seems this is just too complex for any of the current models. I have to give the win to Veo3, but only because it was the best of a bad bunch.
Let's test some more physics, this time with water. A heavy anchor dropping from a ship and plunging into the water, creating a massive splash and bubbles. First, Kling. The anchor drops in slow motion, hits the water, and creates a pretty decent splash. It's a solid, if slightly unspectacular attempt. The slow motion feels a little inconsistent, but overall, it's an okay generation. Not bad. Now let's see Seedance. This is also in slow motion, but I think this is a bit better than Kling's. The anchor falls with a natural-feeling motion, and the splash is really well done. A very solid, high-quality generation from Seedance. Next up is Veo3, and this is a complete failure. There's no ship, and the anchor just kind of disappears gently into the water. Then, after it's already gone, a splash appears on the surface. The cause and effect are totally disconnected. A major fail for Veo on this one. And finally, the open source Wan2.2. This is another really good one. The anchor drops in slow motion, and the splash looks great. It's definitely a much better generation than Veo's attempt. For this round, it's a tough call, but I'm going to give the win to Seedance. Its combination of slow motion and a realistic splash felt the most polished and convincing. And for our second-to-last prompt, another massive challenge for these AIs. Can they handle a complex text request? The prompt is a quill pen magically writing the words "subscribe to AI Quest" in elegant cursive on ancient parchment. First, Kling's attempt. The pen just sort of scribbles a line of illegible nonsense that looks more like spilled ink than writing. It's trying to write something, but it's not the right words and it's not the right style. This is a clear fail. Now for Seedance. This is interesting. The pen moves on its own, but it doesn't seem to be writing anything. Instead, the words "subscribe to AI Quest" just magically appear on the page, almost like a fade-in effect. So while it gets the words right, it completely misses the pen writing action. It's better than Kling, but still a fail. Let's see what Veo3 does. A hand appears holding the pen and draws a single line, and then a bunch of random words magically appear on the page. And it's not even the right words. It writes "bloom" or something similar. This is another complete failure to follow the prompt. And finally, the open source Wan2.2. This is another really good one. The pen draws a straight line, and as it passes, the words "subscribe to AI" appear. The spelling isn't perfect, and it's not really writing, more like revealing, but it's the closest attempt so far. Honestly, this prompt broke all of them. They all failed to write the requested text with a pen. I'd have to call this a four-way tie for last place. None of them could handle it. And for our final, ultimate test, can these AIs actually write? The prompt is a finger drawing the word "help" on a dusty, fogged mirror. First up, Kling. It draws something. There are some letters there already, and the finger just kind of smears them around into a circular pattern. It definitely does not write "help." The dusty mirror effect is okay, but it fails the main task. Now for Seedance. This is even worse.
It looks like the finger is somehow inside the glass, and it's just scribbling some completely indecipherable alien-looking letters. This is totally unrealistic and a complete fail. Let's see if Veo3 can do it. It gives us a very dusty surface, and the finger drawing motion is believable, but what it writes is just gibberish. It's not help, it's just some random squiggles, so it also fails the text test. And finally, the open source Wan2.2. In a 5-second clip, it comes in and it actually does it. You can see the finger trace the letters H, E, L, P. It's not perfect calligraphy, but that clearly says help on the foggy surface. And with that, Wan2.2 is the clear, undisputed winner, leaving all the big-budget closed-source models in the dust. A massive win for open source. And that's a wrap on our 21-prompt AI showdown. This was a beast of a video to put together, and I hope you enjoyed this deep dive. I think the biggest surprise here has to be Wan2.2. While Veo3 often came out on top for overall polish and cinematic quality, the open-source model consistently punched way above its weight, even beating everyone in a few key tests like physics and text generation. The future of AI video is looking incredibly exciting. What did you think? Which model impressed you the most? Let me know your biggest takeaways in the comments below. If you enjoyed this marathon comparison, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.